I think 2022 started off a bit slow in terms of great rap albums, but as the year went along, as Kendrick came out and Black Thought and a few others, this year just got better and better. And I have a list of my favorite rap albums, hip hop albums of 2022. Let me know what you think about it. So, the first one I'm going to mention, this is in no particular order, so just go through and think about them as I talk about it. Black Thought and Cheat Codes. Well, I should say Black Thought and Danger Mouse together doing cheat codes. And so the best part about this album is that Danger Mouse is a fantastic producer. The instrumentation and the production is very soulful, and Black Thought's rapping is as good as it always is. So you can't complain there. And any topic, any theme, just the lyricism he talks about, the empowerment that he wants to bring out, you get it and you feel it, and the production is fun. In particular, there's a song on there called Sometimes, where they sampled a Gwen McCrae song, Love and Sex. And the way that is, or Love Without Sex, I should say. And the way that is done is beautiful. Lupe Fiasco sampled the same song on his track Hustlers from a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago, almost 2 decades ago. And they did a different spin on it. It was great. Cheat codes, like throughout. Well done album. Next album I got to mention is Jed, of course. Jed's album this year, The Forever Story. It's as fun as usual. He delivers his best project yet, in my opinion. He's delivering great rap performances throughout, along with his trademark creativity with his voice and the sounds that he messes with. The production throughout is well done and versatile in the sounds that you hear. Third album I got to mention, Little Sims with No Thank You. So this album came out like second week of December. No promotion at all, really. From the UK. If you don't know Little Sims, she's a great rapper. My last video on the channel was about this album, No Thank You, and it's 10 tracks. Well done, concise, great rapping. She's talking about herself. She's talking about her life. It's introspective. It's reflective. The production is super creative, different. Not everything that you would expect. Some sounds are very ethereal or kind of like spacey. Some are like boom bap like. Some are just like trap like beats. So you just kind of get like a mix of different things throughout this album. And then of course, I cannot mention top 10 albums or top albums of 2022 without mentioning Elzai, who came out near the beginning. Actually, I think it was January or February. Zeitgeist. Super lyricism, Elzai, what he provides on this album. Just the things that he says are so layered. For sure, one of the best. I heard it the first time and I was like, this is good. It's dense. You'll have to stop and sit with it, but it's really good. George and Muldrow, the producer, I think they both are from Detroit, did a great job here. Uh, yeah, I can't even like give you words for how good it is, but it is. So go listen. And then you have Logic with Vinyl Days. I was not expecting Logic to drop another project, and I was not expecting it to be this good. So Vinyl Days is the type of Logic that I like to hear. The man just like hopped on some boom bap rap instrumentals, and he started rapping, and that's well done. Even at 30 tracks, it's 30 tracks of good rapping, and that's always going to be great for me. And then I got to give it up for West Side Boogie's More Black Superheroes. What's cool about this album is that, one, I like the concept, even though the album itself doesn't necessarily feel like a big concept album. Like, he didn't really explore more on the superhero thing, at least not as much as I would have wanted him to. But each individual song is well done. I think that's one of the underrated things about West Side Boogie. He just knows how to make a good song. He even has a Soldier Boy feature on here, and the last person I want to hear is Soldier Boy. But on that song, it was okay. It wasn't bad. And he has like Soho Part 2, so he does like iterations of songs that he's done before. He has some good features on this album. Uh, it's just a good listen. And then, of course, probably along with that Little Sims album, well, before I get there, got to get to Kendrick Lamar here with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. One of my favorite albums of the year for sure. It's Kendrick's second best album, in my opinion. Very introspective and very reflective. We haven't gotten this much of Kendrick's personal life and feelings before, and it's refreshing, and the ideas explored are messy and not completely coherent, but I truly believe that is the point that he is making with this album. He says, I'm not your savior, don't look at me as the hero, I'm just trying to live. Really interesting. Now, an album that doesn't get a lot of talk, wasn't mentioned as much this year, but I really liked it. Ransom's No Rest for the Wicked. Ransom, as usual, offers smooth punchlines all the time. He knows how to deliver the punch. He sets the tone by addressing the critics and how people want to put him in a box. The production is dark but kind of upbeat to start, but it also samples those soul samples that he's used to using, that the Griselda sound that you may have known. And Ransom used this project to talk about how he feels on his current position in hip hop and in life, reflecting on his success and how he got there. And it's a good listen, really good listen. I listened to it again recently and I really liked it. Also, Grips. I love Grip from Atlanta. His album Five and a FU. It was really interesting. He called it that because it's his fifth project, and I guess he wants to say FU for some reason. But it's great. It's fantastic. He's rapping well as he usually does. Rip is legitimately one of my favorite rappers ever at this point. I think he's proven it. Hasn't dropped a bad project. Every album is a concept. And he follows it and theme throughout. And he banged this one out fast. I think he said he did this project in a quick amount of time. He does a whole like 8-minute thank you song on the second to last album. I'm on the second to last song of the album, and it's solid. But one of my favorite storytelling tracks of 2022 and probably in the past few years, Corey and Mel is on this album. Corey and Mel is so good. The hook is great. The story they tells is kind of simple, but it's a great one because the way they take the way he can give you the personality in the conversation of who he's portraying in the story makes it infectious listening. You got to come back, and then the flip of it, because it has a feature. So usually storytelling songs don't have a lot of features, but this one has one, and the feature with Tate is great because he kills his side of it as well. I just recommend that song overall. Great album by Grip 2022. Can't forget. So I said 2022 started out slow, but I realized I named like 3 albums that came out near the beginning, and this is one of them. Shay Noir's Food for Thought, which came out January 13th or something like that. So right at the beginning of the year, Shay Noir hasn't disappointed me yet. Like every album she's dropped, I started listening to her in 2020, and I just loved everything she's done. She started producing a lot of her own stuff now too. She's been a good rapper from the beginning. I can tell she writes. She thinks about what she wants to say. She's reflective. She's introspective. Kind of very wise, business minded. Kind of no nonsense, but she raps well. She pairs it over good production. Every feature she chooses is right. She doesn't miss. And this is another good one. Like Food for Thought. She kind of had that concept of like the food for thought, like something to chew on, something for you to ponder. That's throughout the album. And there's a really good song on there called Communion. Near the beginning, and there's another track where she's kind of expressing to the church like how she feels or like what God has brought her through, and like she kind of does this funny like skit in the middle with the pastor. It's a good album, well done. And then I gotta mention Pusha T. It's Almost Dry. 10 tracks, 12 tracks, something like that. 12 tracks, I believe. Every song is good. There's not a song I don't really like. He's rapping well. The production is like a different feel. I think he's 2 main producers. I forgot who. I think he did Pharrell and did Kanye. And they just kind of went back and forth, and you can tell that they kind of put their best foot forward and did some production things here. And he rapped his usual Pusha T, talking about coke, talking about life. Yeah, well done, Pusha T. Finally, honorable mentions. There's 2. Lupe Fiasco with Drill Music and Zion came out in June. Good album for the summer. Lupe is so dense. The album could have been higher if I just stopped and listened to it because it is so densely layered, so much information in there. He's making references to a lot of things, and I want to break it down and make sure I truly understand them. And I feel like once I do, it's going to go up. The last honorable mention is Crook and Joel. So Crooked Eye and Joel Ortiz with The Rise and Fall of Slaughterhouse. Very controversial project because obviously the other 2 members of Slaughterhouse, Joe Budden and Royce 5'9", were not happy that this came out. They went a whole little press run about being upset about it. But I feel like Crook and Joel wanted to tell their story, and they did. Production could have been, I think, a little bit better, but their rapping is good. I like the fact they're telling their story. They're telling what they believe, and it made a big moment in hip hop. Like people were talking about it for days, for weeks. It's a good time. There you go, though. Those are my favorite albums of 2022 in hip hop. They were great. I love rapping. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite albums? Leave it in the comments.